Ferrari Roma. Yes, I bought a Ferrari Roma. In today's video, folks, we're going to go through at the beginning here a little bit about the car, what excited me about this car, why I wanted to get it. Then we'll get into kind of my ambitions on getting any sort of, let's call it, more advanced kind of fun type car. And then we'll get into the money. We'll speak about money. We'll talk about how many miles this car has. We'll speak about what I paid for the car. We'll speak about what the previous owner had paid for the car. And let's call it, they took a big hit on this one. So we'll get into all that in this video. But let's just start out by looking at the car. It is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful cars I have ever seen in my life. It is absolutely gorgeous. From the outside, this is the type of car that if you saw it at the bar, you would say, oh. And when it comes to Ferrari, I don't think all their cars are beautiful. That is my personal opinion. I think there are some that are very, very well done, and they're absolutely gorgeous. But there's others that, honestly, I don't feel them at all. This is one of those cars that was, the moment I saw it, I said, that is a beautiful car. And let's take a peek at the engine. Even Ferrari, they do the engine so nice. I gotta say, it is absolutely gorgeous the way they do their engines. And what's interesting about this is that engine sits very, very far back. Typically, an engine would be more toward the front of the car. This baby sits way back there. I mean, Jesus, practically a mid-engine car. And when it comes to this beauty, it is a V8 twin turbo. It produces over 600 horsepower with this one, 0 to 60 in about 3.4 seconds. Crazy torque on this one. And I can tell you, this car, you hit that gas, and that back end is all over the place. It is a blast. It is a lot of fun. But I can tell you, this one has trouble keeping those back wheels on the ground, and I mean a lot of trouble. The battery packs are so heavy and low. When you hit a Tesla and you press that pedal and you go flying, I can say it grips the road very, very well. I cannot say the same about this Ferrari, but that does make it a whole lot more fun. If you want to talk about a car you could have some fun in, go drifting around, take this around the track and have a grand old time, I can tell you this car can be that. But one of the things I really appreciate about this car is it's not just like, oh, it's some fast car that you can have some fun in, you know, drift around in. No, this car is actually extremely practical. It is like an everyday Ferrari. It's extremely comfortable on the inside. The seats are very, very comfortable. And this is the type of car you would have no problem taking this on a 4 or 6 hour road trip, even an 8-hour road trip, which I can tell you, speaking to a lot of people from the supercar community, a lot of them cannot say the same. A lot of them would not want to drive those cars for more than maybe 1 to 2 hours, and they say it is not a comfortable ride in many of these cars. Now, when it comes to this car, as far as the exterior, I would almost describe it as a very dark gray look to this one, which is not going to draw as many eyeballs as, let's say, a typical Ferrari that would be the beautiful red, right? Or even a Ferrari that yellow. Yellow has actually gotten pretty popular in regards to Ferraris, which this car, I kind of don't mind it being a little more low-key, especially given that I have the Plaid. The Plaid is obviously almost like a Lamborghini green going on, right? Then I have the Model X, which is wrapped in like a yellow wrap that is obviously very, very bright. And so when it came to this car, I didn't mind getting something that's a little more under the radar. Now, these black exhaust pipes, I absolutely love those things because that is an upgrade. So a lot of people just have kind of like a chrome more look to those exhaust pipes. The black exhaust pipes, I just thought they looked absolutely beautiful here on this particular Ferrari, which made me fall in love. And let's speak about the rear of the car because in my personal opinion, that is the most beautiful thing about the car. I just think the rear part of that car is absolutely gorgeous. Now, something pretty cool is check this out on the tailgate area. So when you pop the trunk here, it actually shows you all the upgrades your particular Ferrari has, which in my opinion, that's actually a pretty cool little thing there. Now let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun. Let me go ahead and start this baby up so you guys can hear what it sounds like the best way possible. What does this car sound like when it starts? Here we go. that you've seen the exterior of this car many times and you have heard what the car sounds like. Let's go ahead and take a peek inside. The most fun mode. Let's just keep it simple. Okay, race, fun. Race, fun. It has sport mode, which is, I think, a good combo of still being fun, but just not as extreme as that race mode. But if you're really going to go have some fun, you put it in race mode. After that, there's comfort mode, which I haven't gone into yet because it's a Ferrari and it's comfort mode. Come on, man. We're in this to have fun, right? And then there's wet mode, which I can just tell you, I would not, I repeat, I would not drive this thing in the rain. Oh, heck no. With how much you want to push that pedal down in this car, and given that that back end's already all over the place, even on dry streets, I can tell you in wet mode, oh heck no, I'm not driving this baby in the rain. No, 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 no risk I'm willing to take. The interior here, you see the digital, yes, digital panels there showing you how fast you're going, all these sorts of things, showing you the car stats, 123 miles an hour. Somebody went in this baby. It wasn't me yet. I'm more of the type that likes to go fast, like 0 to 60 type fast, maybe likes to drift around a little bit, those sorts of things. I'm not really a top speed guy. For instance, the Plaid, I think the Plaid goes like, I want to say 200 or something crazy. I think 202. And have I even taken it anywhere remotely close to those sorts of speeds? Oh, heck no. Oh, no, no, no. And since we're on the subject of the Plaid, let me say a few things about the Plaid. The Plaid, I really enjoy this car. It is a lot of fun as well. The 0 to 60 is crazy, and I can 100% tell you, I've owned that car for about 3 years now, if not longer than that, and I can tell you, like, there's no replacing that speed in the Model S Plaid. I can tell you, any supercar, once you've gotten used to that Model S Plaid, putting your foot down, nothing will compare. This Ferrari Roma doesn't compare. If I had a LaFerrari, it wouldn't compare. If I had a Lamborghini Huracan, it wouldn't compare. If I had a Lamborghini Aventador, if I had a Bugatti, it doesn't matter. When you have felt the Plaid year after year after year, you push that pedal down and you want to go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, you go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds every time. It's not like you need the gears to shift perfect and it's got to be perfect conditions and blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. You push that pedal down as much as you can, put it on the floor, and you go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, and it's absolutely the most ridiculous feeling. Now, is the Plaid the most fun car? Oh, heck no. I can tell you this Ferrari is way more fun than the Plaid, but if you just want to feel the most ridiculous speed, you get a Model S Plaid, because I'm just telling you, there's nothing that compares to that. And there's no dopamine hit you'll get bigger than that when it comes to the 0 to 60. Now, if it comes to, driving around, having a blast, drifting around, hearing the engine roar, right? It's a whole different experience. That's what you go after a Lamborghini for. That's what you go after a Ferrari for, right? But when it comes to just feeling that speed, the need for speed, Model S Plaid all day, and it's not even close. This Ferrari Roma 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. It's fast, but I can tell you, compared to the Plaid, it's not even in the same league. Speaking about not even in the same league, the software that Tesla has is so vastly superior to anything else in the marketplace, including Ferrari or anybody else. I don't even know where to start with that. All I can tell you is Tesla's software. This is what happens when a company's built tech first. They focus on tech, and the tech is absolutely extraordinary compared to these other auto manufacturers. But on the flip side, like I said, is a Plaid as much fun? No. And look at the Plaid. It's an okay looking sedan, but it's not gonna make you say, wow, that's a car. It's no like, oh my gosh, it's such a gorgeous car. It's not that. We just gotta be honest. It's not that car, right? But it, as many, many people will say, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now, you might be wondering, do I still have the Model X? And the answer is yes, I still do have the Model X, which is a vehicle I very, very much enjoy. I'm not sure how much longer I'll keep that Model X because I'll just be honest with you, there's not really a need for me for having 3 cars. It's just overkill. I work from home. My wife is at home most of the time, and so it just doesn't really make practical sense to have 3 cars and 3 insurance payments and 3 tags and all those sorts of things. So I would say I'll probably get rid of the Model X in the next 3 to 6 months, which I'm going to miss that vehicle. It is a nice vehicle. I've really enjoyed it. I've owned it since 2020. And the other thing I'll miss about the Model X is it does have free supercharging for life, which is pretty darn cool. And you might say, well, why not get rid of the Plaid, right? How can I get rid of that 0 to 60? I just can't do it. Now back to the Roma. Let's take a few last looks here at the Ferrari Roma. And then from here, we're going to go ahead. We're going to jump into some numbers around this. I'm going to tell you what I paid for the car, what the previous owner had paid for the car, and kind of talk to you a little bit about the Ferrari brand, what I enjoy with the brand, and those sorts of things as well. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into that now. Alrighty, folks. Now that we have looked at the car, let's go ahead and talk numbers. Let's talk money. Let's talk about what I paid for this car. Do I think I got a good deal, bad deal, kind of my thoughts on the auto market on the higher end, all those sorts of things in this video, okay? First off, it's been a tremendous past 2 years for me in the market, right? Public count, if we go back 2 years ago today, the public count was probably sitting around $1 million-ish, right? Public count here today is $2.5 million. So I can say it's been a lot of fun with stocks in 2023, stocks in 2024. And so it's been a great ride in the market. And you know, it's just kind of like a good feeling in general, and kind of felt like spending on something maybe a little more, let's call it on the fun side. I have been spending, spent quite a bit of money on my main home this year, but when it comes to spending money on your home, it's not quite the same, right? Because it kind of feels a little bit more like an investment, since you're putting money literally into your home, right? So it's been a great time in the market, made a ton of money. Metastock's obviously done tremendous for us. We're now up over $800,000 on Metastock, right? We've had other stocks come through, I would say in the past year or two, including Palantir. Palantir, if we went back 2 years ago today, I was probably sitting on a loss with that stock. Now we're up $173,000. Same thing with Amazon. I mean, Amazon 2 years ago, probably sitting on a loss, now up $83,000. Elf's gone on an absolutely incredible run. PayPal's starting to go on a run. Tesla's run a lot in the past 2 years specifically. That stock bottomed out around just over $100 at the end of 2022 going into 2023. So we've definitely, done very, very well in the market. Additionally, I have 1000xstocks.com in the market now, and that's just a banger product. So we're knocking out of the ballpark in regards to that. So in regards to my investments, those have been doing so tremendous that I feel pretty good, pretty confident. Additionally, I have a banger product from kind of a business standpoint as well. So given that I have a banger product, my investments are killing it the last couple of years, I feel like making a decision like this. And so it kind of led me this thought process in the last couple months of wanting to buy something fun, right? I want to buy, specifically a car like this, right? Something that would, you get a sort of, a certain type of feeling when you get in that car of like, oh man, like this is a ride. Like you feel that good feeling over you. It's hard to even describe that, right? And so led me down this rabbit hole last couple months of kind of looking into more of the supercar marketing, kind of figuring out, okay, what are the type of cars in this market? What are the type of brands in this market? And basically, after doing extensive research the last couple months and speaking to I've been fortunate to make a lot of friendships with many different folks over the last few years that have cars that are, let's say rather expensive, kind of hearing from their perspective, doing my own research online. At the end of the day, if I had to put a tier list together, this would be my tier list. It all comes down to Ferrari and Lamborghini. They are the S tier of autos. Just if you listen to anybody that's really educated on the more supercar market, it always comes back to Lamborghini and Ferrari. And some people might prefer Lamborghini, some people might prefer Ferrari, but it always comes back to those guys. Under that, you have McLaren and you have Porsche. Now, Porsche holds up phenomenal when it comes to resale values. That is something to keep in mind there. Porsche just doesn't quite have that brand prestige. And I think that's because Porsche, for a while, was going after a lot of more mass market vehicles. Remember the days of the Porsche Boxster and many of the various Porsches that just kind of went a little more mainstream with those vehicles. A lot of people maybe in the upper middle class driving a Porsche around. So I think the brand prestige is just not on a level of Ferrari or Lamborghini. Additionally, Porsche doesn't make as beautiful vehicles as Lamborghini or Ferrari does, right? Let's just be honest about this. But the cars do drive unbelievably well, and they hold value really good on the higher end of the market, like the Porsche, Turbo S, those sorts of products. McLaren can make some very good products. They sometimes don't hold as value as well, so that's something to keep in mind with McLaren. But those are very respected vehicles. Below that, you would kind of put Aston Martin there. Below that, the higher end Mercedes-Benz, like you could put those in there. The highest end Jags. Audi's in there, but Audi's got a lot of issues, and we're specifically talking about the highest end Audis, right? Maserati, Maserati just doesn't get a lot of respect. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Speaking to so many different folks in this industry, Maserati is not highly respected at all, right? I also didn't put Bentley and Rolls in my tier list here, and the reason being is although Bentley and Rolls, they can make some vehicles that are pretty dang quick, I feel like those are just more like luxury vehicles in general. I feel like they're kind of in a different bracket than many of these other guys that will make more fast rides, right? So in regards to my car specifically, it's a used car, but gosh, it's almost like a new car. It had 1,500, a little over 1,500 miles on it, so which was like nothing. At 2022, right? MSRP on this car was around $325,000. I'll tell you the range I paid for the car, somewhere between 210 and 230. So, definitely the person took a hit in regards to this car in a substantial way. Now, we'll speak about that, why I think they might have took a hit, my kind of, beliefs on this, right? This car does come with a 4-year plus maintenance plan, which I definitely really appreciate. I don't want to have to deal with that over the coming years. It also has a 16-month warranty. If I want to extend that warranty over the coming years, I can do that as well, which, I definitely want a warranty over the next year, like especially owning something like this. I've never bought a car like this before, so I definitely value that warranty. Car has perfect everything. You guys have seen the video now and the pictures. Like it's literally perfection. It's like a new car. It's literally like a brand new car. It has 1,500 miles on it. Like the thing wasn't even driven. Like it's ridiculous, right? And so I'm basically getting a brand new Ferrari for a little over $200,000. And so my belief is that's a pretty darn good value, and for something I really want, right? It's like definitely something I wanted. So the fact that I can justify it price-wise, because I feel like I'm getting basically a brand new car for this range in this day and age. I mean, these cars are starting to get very, very expensive, and so I really like this, right? No, I got to say the market's very soft for a lot of these, let's call it the 200 plus club. The vehicles that are over $200,000, I think the market's actually very soft, which is surprising and not surprising. I think the only way it could be a little surprising here is, remember, the stock market's doing great. Real estate prices have held up tremendously great, right? And yet, I would say it's actually a very soft, high-end auto market right now. I think it goes back to a few things. I think confidence is low. When you go to buy one of these cars, you gotta have some confidence, right? You're not gonna spend $200,000+ unless you have great confidence about, your financial picture and your financial future, right? And so consumer confidence numbers have been really in a bad place for quite some time. And so I believe because confidence has been very low from small business perspective, from consumers perspective, I think that hurts even the high-end auto market, right? I think it hurts everything across the board. Interest rates are insanely high. Like even if you have great credit, you could be looking at, on these sorts of cars, interest rates 7, 8, 9%. And that's if you have great credit when it comes to these sorts of cars, right? Tesla has some insanely competitive interest rates right now, but they're kind of a freak situation. Just in general, even if you have great credit score, even if you have a lot of money behind you, even if you have a big income, you're still looking at likely 7s and 8s and 9s when it comes to interest rates on an auto, especially in this bracket, right? Which is going to hurt because not everybody's going to buy cash. You got to understand that, right? I buy cash. I bought this car cash, right? Why did I buy this car cash? Well, here's the thing. Interest rates are insanely high. I just can't sign off on those sorts of interest rates right now. Additionally, cash is going to yield less moving forward. There's no doubt in my mind at all that cash is going to yield lower I think treasuries are going down over the next, if I just had to make a 12-month prediction, treasuries are going down, savings accounts rates are going down over this next 12 months. So, right, so cash is going to yield as much. And additionally, I'm not going to sign off on a loan if I got to pay an interest rate 7, 8, 9%. If I look a little further in that, I also just like the peace of mind of like owning that asset outright, which I wouldn't really call it an asset, it would be a liability. But I would rather own that liability outright than have it financed and pay a big interest rate on that, which is going to be a bunch more of an interest charge, right? And so that's also the way I kind of look at that. Additionally, I just feel weird putting because it's not a need at all. It's just a pure want. And so I hate the thought of putting a want as on a loan. That's just the way I feel about everything. Like homes, okay, put it on, like do the mortgage. Like it makes sense. It's your home. You're going to live in it, right? Or even a real estate investment property. It makes sense to mortgage that. If you're going to buy like an everyday vehicle that you need for you or your family, it makes sense like to buy it on a loan. But a toy, this is a toy. Let's just be honest, it's a toy. Put this on a big loan at 7.5% interest rate, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Not for a toy. No, you got to own that sort of stuff outright. I feel like it's almost like bad juju by doing a loan on a toy. Like, nah, this doesn't make sense. You got to own it outright or don't own it at all, right? Now, I also think there was a lot of supercar buying in the fourth quarter of 2020 into the first quarter of 2022. And I think that's because confidence was coming back at that particular time, coming off of Rona. The stock market was booming. Crypto was booming. Stimulus was a flood of stimulus was being pumped out there, right? You had, I just think it was kind of a freak time period in that particular moment. I mean, even high-end watches, when I say high-end watches, I'm really talking about $5,000 plus watches were selling like ridiculous. Like from the fourth quarter of 2020, you couldn't get your hands on a Rolex, even in the used market. It was ridiculous during that particular time, right? All the way through the first quarter of 2022, and that caused prices of everything to go insane, right? We know about that. Now, when it comes to Romas, I think a lot of people bought these sorts of cars. Probably some of them bought them because they thought they could flip them for profit. I mean, it had never been a thing where you could just buy cars and make money on them, right? But there was a time period, in this time period specifically, that if you bought a car, you could go flip it and make $20,000, $40,000, $60,000 on it, right? People were doing that. Like I knew people personally that were doing that at that particular time. They were buying an auto and then a month later, a few months later, flipping it for like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 profit. It was ridiculous, right? Like we never heard of that before. That was insane, but there was people doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised if you had some level of people go buy these Romas thinking, oh, I'll be able to flip this for a profit, because sometimes people run to these conclusions that because something's going on, it's got to keep going on, right? We saw that before the great financial crisis in the housing market. People just, were loading up on homes left and right because they're like, oh my gosh, it's just easy. It just appreciates. I can flip this, buy this house now, flip it in a month from now or a few months from now, make myself $5, $10, $15, $20,000. Like, why not? I mean, it's not small amounts of money. So I think that's part of it. Also, I think you probably had some people FOMO into these cars because remember the time period we were going through back here. This was the semiconductor shortage. You can't get your hands on a new auto. Oh my gosh, right? Remember all that was going on back there. And so I bet you any money, there's a segment of buyers that probably FOMO'd into these vehicles just because it was the thing to do at that particular time. It was the thing to do, right? Second thing is, I think a lot of people bought these, and when I say a lot of people, you got to keep in mind, it's a very small amount of people, relatively speaking. Like they maybe make 1,000 of these vehicles a year around the world. So we're not talking about like this is some mass market vehicle, but you got to understand, like even if it's 100 people out of that 1,000, it's a big number. It's a big number. But I also think people bought these vehicles to play the game of Ferrari because you got to understand, if you want to get the more special Ferraris, you got to play the game. So you can buy used Ferraris, you can buy, a new Ferrari. But if you want to get your hands on a new Ferrari, if they even let you get a new Ferrari, it's going to be entry level. Well, the Roma's an entry level vehicle, right? It's priced before you do all your upgrades and stuff. It's priced $240,000, $250,000 before you do all those upgrades to it. So that for Ferrari is kind of like entry level, because you got to understand a lot of Ferraris are kind of pricing around $400,000 and up. So when we're talking about an MSRP Ferrari for in the $200,000 range, that's cheap Ferrari. That's like entry level. And so people will play the game of Ferrari, they'll buy one of these sorts of cars, right? And then a few years down the road, they're allowed to get whatever the more advanced car is. They want the, I don't know, 812 super fast, or the 296, or the 488, or whatever it is, okay? They like play the game of Ferrari, and Rolex does this as well. They're not, Ferrari's not the only brand that does this. Rolex can definitely play this game as well. You guys, I'm sure, have heard of the Hermes Birkin bag. Like, they'll play that game as well. You can't just go buy a Birkin bag. It doesn't exist like that. It doesn't, you have to shop at that company for quite some time. Hermes, right? You got to buy all these other products, and hopefully you can get a Birkin bag someday. And so these higher brands, they do play that game. And so people buy these Romas, to kind of play the game. And, it's just, would I buy one of these Romas new? Oh, heck no. Because I think the way I would look at it is, I think that the second you drive that off the lot, I think you lose $75,000 plus of value. Like, the moment it goes off the lot, you're going to lose $75K plus of the value, in my personal opinion, in regards to the Roma, based upon what I've done for research in regards to this. So that's no bueno. So now, in general, I'd also say it's usually bad to buy any new vehicle. Like, that was never a crazy concept. That was always been the way it's been, other than this little freak time period we went through in 2020. From the back half of 2020 into the beginning of 2022, there was a very freak time period when it actually made sense to buy a new vehicle. Like, it didn't depreciate. Sometimes you made money on them. It was ridiculous. Every other time period in my adult lifetime, and even before my adult lifetime as a kid, that was not normal. It was always known, if you were educated on vehicles, it was always known, you buy a new car, the second you drive it off the lot, you just lost a bunch of value. Like, there's no debating that. And that's the way it always was. And that's the way we're back to now. We're now back to the days when you drive a vehicle off the lot, that vehicle is going to be worth a lot less money. And so I think that's actually a normalized environment. And so if you want to get a good deal, a good value, buy used. Buy a vehicle, 2, 3, 4 years used. You're probably not going to have many issues with it, because it's still actually pretty dang new, especially if it's very low mileage, but you're going to get it at such a significant discount. And that's the situation here. I feel like I basically got a brand new car for a significant discount, not a small amount of money off, like a ridiculous sum of money off, right? And also the Ferrari Roma, I just think, is one of the best values, if not the best value you'll get out there in the marketplace for vehicles that are 2, 3 years old. And because you can find a lot of them kind of in that 200 to kind of like 240 price bracket that have extremely low miles and have MSRPs that, people paid much, much bigger price. You got to understand, if MSRP is $325 after tax and everything, gosh, you're looking at like $350,000 at that point in time. Now, supercar market, by the way, these folks, especially I've noticed with Lamborghini, Lamborghini now is starting to move to more of a $400,000 price point for entry level now. So don't be surprised if Ferrari slowly moves there over this next couple years, where Ferrari starts to push, near $400,000 for entry level, which is going to be insane. Because that means you're not going to be able to get a new entry-level Lambo or Ferrari for like, let's call it less than $400,000. But geez, that's going to be some price brackets. But yeah, I won't be surprised if that's what's going to play out here, right? And in regards to the auto market being super soft, like you look at the Lamborghini Urus, right, their SUV, whew, a lot of inventory out there, lot of inventory. And when I say a lot of inventory, like it's a small relative number if you compare it to, like, I don't know, the amount of Toyota Camrys or Honda Civics or Tesla Model 3s, but those are mass market vehicles, right? I'm talking about a lot of inventory relative to how much inventory there should be for these vehicles. And like the Lamborghini Urus, that SUV, man, there's inventory all over the place when it comes to those, all over the place. So that just kind of goes back to the market being soft. It's kind of the market we're in right now, right? Some of the Lamborghini sports cars, those are holding value really well. Aventador, Huracan. Ferrari, a lot of the models that are kind of that over 400 crowd is holding values pretty well. But underneath that, I could tell you there's a lot of weakness. There's a lot of weakness in Maserati prices. There's a lot of weakness in McLaren prices from what I see. There's a lot of weakness in Aston Martin prices. There's a lot of inventory out there if you're looking to buy. So, but this is also the time period I'd want to buy in. I don't want to buy when we're in some booming market again for these sorts of autos, right? Which, if the stock market keeps going up, if interest rates drop a bunch, if the person that people want to get elected gets elected, right? And confidence comes back in a major way when it comes to small business and consumer, then you could talk about this high-end market heating up. And if the high-end market heats up, then I can tell you that's not a market I want to buy into. No. I'd rather have bought before that situation. Do I think I bought the bottom of the market? I don't think I bought the bottom, but I think I bought relatively close to the bottom. I wouldn't be surprised if kind of this high-end auto market starts to actually pick up in 2025, especially with the Fed lowering interest rates. And if we get confidence coming back in a healthier place, and obviously inflation stops slicing and dicing, folks, I think that I wouldn't be surprised at all if this higher end auto market actually picks up in 25 and moving into 26. We'll see what happens. At the end of the day, you only live once too. That's kind of the thought process around a move like this. You only live once. So you kind of got to, if you want to do something like this, you got to do it, right? All right, guys, appreciate you joining me as always. Much love. And the home tour, eventually that's going to be coming for you guys. I will put that together. But I felt like I had to cover the car first, right? I mean, you had to do it. All right, much love and have a great day.